In this video, you will learn 5011 plus vocabulary list. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to master 11 plus exam techniques to land in your dream grammar school, start right now by subscribing and clicking on the bell so you don't miss anything. Person who fells trees, cut them into logs, transport them to sawmill. Starts with L. In this picture we can see two people cutting down wood. So this means the word will be lumberjack, and the sentence for this word is the lumberjack worked extremely hard to cut the tree. The next definition is elliptical path of celestial object, starts with O. In this picture we can see celestial objects, such as planets and asteroids, going around the elliptical path around the sun. So this means the word will be orbit, and the sentence is planets in the solar system orbit the sun. Now, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide, and the previous slide is lumberjack. Let's go on to the next one. Muddled or confused. In this picture we can see a person who's very muddled or confused. So this means the word will be befuddled, and the sentence is the question befuddled everyone. Now, do you guys remember the previous slide? The previous slide is orbit. Let's go on to the next one. Past and past participle of spotlight starts with S. In this picture we can see a musician performing on a stage and it has spotlight. So this means the word will be spotlit, and the sentence is the band was performing on the spotlit stage. So now let's recall the previous slide, and the previous slide is befuddled. Let's go on to the next one. Release or unloose starts with U. In this picture we can see a dog released from its leash. So this means the word will be unleash, and the sentence is the dogs are always unleashed inside the house. Before we go into the next one, do you guys remember the previous slide? The previous slide is spotlit. Let's go on to the next one. Judgment, set of words, starts with S. In this picture we can see a set of words. So this means the word will be sentence. And the sentence for this word is the judge sentenced the thief to prison. Now let's once again recall the previous slide and try to remember the previous slide. And the previous slide is unleash. Let's go on to the next one. Excessively harsh starts with D. In this picture we can see the mother being excessively harsh to the boy. So this means the word will be draconian, and the sentence is the mum took draconian actions to stop the boy. Now, like always, let's recall the previous slide, and the previous slide is sentence. Let's go on to the next one. Aggressively confident and self-assertive starts with B. In this picture we can see someone who's very confident and self-assertive. So this means the word will be bullish, and the sentence is the boss was extremely bullish. So now, like always, let's recall the previous slide once again, and the previous slide is draconian. Let's go on to the next one. Respectful starts with R. In this picture we can see the boy being very respectful to his teacher. So this means the word will be reverent, and the sentence is the boy gave reverent attention to the teacher. And the previous slide is bullish. The next definition is tuneful. Matching starts with H. In this picture we can see a couple of tune notes which suggest it's being very tuneful. So this means the word will be harmonious, and the sentence is the composer always produces harmonious music. And like always, the previous slide is reverent. Burdensome starts with O. In this picture we can see someone carrying the whole world on their back, which means they're carrying the whole world's burden on their back, which is obviously very burdensome. So this means the word is going to be onerous. And the sentence for this word is, this is the most onerous task I have ever undertaken in my office. So now let's go on to the next one. The next definition is praise enthusiastically and publicly, starts with A. In this picture, we can see someone praising the other person enthusiastically and publicly. So therefore, the word will be acclaim. And the sentence is, John deserves the acclaim he has received. So before we go on to the next one, do you guys remember the previous slide? So let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is onerous. Let's go on to the next one. Pay attention to starts with H. In this picture, we can see people paying attention to the painting they're drawing right now. So therefore, the word will be heed. And the sentence is, some fail to heed the lessons of history. So once again, let's try to recall the previous slide. Do you guys remember the previous slide? Well, the previous slide is acclaim. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is the state of being well known for some bad quality. Starts with I. In this picture, we can see people kicking other people, which is obviously a bad quality. So this means the word will be infamy. And the sentence is, there are many people in the list of infamy. So now, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is going to be heed. Let's go on to the next one. Take part in something so as to prevent or alter, starts with I. In this picture, we can see all of the dominoes falling, but there's just this one domino that is stopping the rest of the dominoes from falling. So this means the word is going to be intervene. And the sentence is, I'm powerless to intervene in the forum. So now, do you guys remember the previous slide? The previous slide is going to be infamy. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is annoy, starts with R. In this picture, we can see a person who's really annoyed because, as you guys could see, there's smoke coming out of their ears and their hair is up, their eyes are looking really frustrated and have their sleeves rolled up as if they're going to fight someone, which suggests they're really, really annoyed. So therefore, the word will be rile. And the sentence for this word is, don't let him rile you. So let's recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is intervene. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is songbird, starts with L. And in this picture, we can see a songbird. So therefore, the word will be lark. And the sentence is, I was up with a lark this morning. And as you guys could see, in this picture, we have a lark. So now let's try to recall the previous slide once again. So the slide before this one, or the previous slide, was rile. Let's go on to the next one. So the next one is twist, starts with C. In this picture, we can see a person who's really flexible and they're twisting and turning, doing some really difficult stretches. So this means the word will be contort. And the sentence is, bend the athlete, contort into impossible posture. And in this picture, we can see that this person is also doing some very hard postures. So let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide in this case is going to be lark. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is going to be to provoke, to stimulate an action. Starts with G. In this picture, we can see a deer eating food. So therefore, the word will be goad. And the sentence for this word is, hunger goad him to steal food. So let's once again try to recall the previous slide. The previous slide was contort. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is irritate, starts with A. And in this picture, we can see someone who's really irritated. By the way they're looking at you, you could say that they're very irritated. So therefore, the word will be annoy. And the sentence is, I'm sure he does it just to annoy me. And in this picture, you can see a very annoyed person. So let's try to recall the previous slide. So the slide before this one, or the previous slide, was gold. Musical instrument starts with C. In this picture, we can see someone who's playing a musical instrument. So therefore, the word will be concertina. And the sentence for this word is, on an event, he brought an old concertina. And as you guys could see, in this picture, we can see someone who is playing a concertina. So the next definition is average quality, not very good, starts with M. In this picture, we can say someone who is sleeping in work, which is obviously not very good. So therefore, the word will be mediocre. And the sentence for this word is, mediocre employees can kill a business. And in this picture, we can see a mediocre employee. So now, before we go on to the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. So the answer or the word to the previous slide was concertina. Let's go on to the next one. So the next definition is lacking interest or dull, starts with M. In this picture, we can see someone who's both lacking interest and they're also very dull. So therefore, the word will be mundane. And the sentence for this word is, mundane tasks are repetitive, boring, and unproductive. And in this picture, we can see someone who's doing a repetitive, boring task. In other words, they're doing a mundane task, which is causing them to be unproductive. So now, before we go into the next one, let's try to remember the previous slide. So the word we learnt in the previous slide is mediocre. Let's go on to the next one. So the next definition is bad or ill-tempered, starts with M. And in this picture, we can see someone who is obviously ill-tempered. So therefore, the word will be morose. And the sentence for this word is, when he came into work, he was morose. So now, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is mundane. Let's go on to the next one. Next one is pull, starts with D. In this picture, we can see someone who's pulling a whole van or a whole truck full of people behind him. And as we all know, this is very hard to do. So therefore, the word will be drag. And the sentence for this word is, you can come with me quietly, I can drag you out of here. So now, before we go on to the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. So the word we learned in the previous slide is morose. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is be full of, starts with T. And in this picture, we can see something that is full of Easter eggs. And they're obviously very colorful Easter eggs. So therefore, the word will be team. And the sentence for team is that fish teem in these waters. If you guys notice with this word team, you may be able to think that this word sounds very similar to team, which is spelled T-E-A-M. But this team, with the definition of be full of, is actually spelled with two double E's. It's spelled T-E-E-M. But the other team we are talking about is spelled T-E-A-M. So that's something not to get confused about. So with that, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is going to be drag. Let's go on to the next one. So the next definition is submissive, quiet. In this picture, it says submissive. So therefore, the word will be meek. And the sentence for meek is that, do you want me to leave? He asked in a meek, questioning voice. In other words, he asked in a silent or quiet, questioning voice. So now, Let's try to recall the previous slide. So the word we learnt in the previous slide is team. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is tree, starts with P. And in this picture, we can see a specific type of tree. So therefore, the word will be palm. And the sentence for palm is, she gazed at the massive palm. And in this picture, we can see a palm, or also known as a palm tree. So before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And let's try to remember the words we learned in the previous slides. And the word is meek. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is unemployment benefit. And in this picture, we can see a letter or paper saying unemployment benefits approved. So therefore, the word will be dole. And the sentence for this word is, dole money was sent to help and support people who do not have jobs. If you guys notice at the definition, it says unemployment benefit. And dole money is basically the money that's sent to help and support people who are unemployed or people who do not have jobs. So now let's try to recall the previous slide. And the word we learned in the previous slide is palm. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is net with square mesh, starts with F. In this picture, we can see a net with a square mesh. So therefore, the word will be filet. And the sentence for this word is, filet lace knotted net is a traditional fabric used for embroidery technique. So now let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is dole. A group or meeting of witches, and in this picture we can see a group of witches. So therefore the word will be coven. And the sentence for this word is, a gathering of witches is called a coven. The next definition we have, box to protect hat. And in this picture we can see boxes that are there to protect these hats. So therefore the word will be hat box. And the sentence for this word is, she had a huge stack of hat boxes. So now, before we go into the next one, can you guys recall the previous slide? Well, the previous slide is coven. Let's go on to the next one. So the next definition is a substance capable of polishing or cleaning a hard surface by rubbing or grinding. In this picture, we can see a substance that's capable of polishing or cleaning a hard surface by rubbing or grinding. So therefore, the word will be abrasive. And the sentence for this word is hardware store had a wide variety of abrasives like sandpaper. So once again, before we go into the next one, can you guys recall the previous slide? Well, the previous slide is hat box. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is destroy, starts with O. And in this picture, we can see a volcano that is destroying a whole city. So therefore, the word will be obliterate. And the sentence for this word is, the entire city was obliterated due to the volcanic explosion. So once again, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. The word we learned in the previous slide is abrasive. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is put at risk of being harmed, injured, or destroyed. In this picture, we can see a group of people that are put in the risk of being harmed, injured, or destroyed. So therefore, the word will be imperil. And the sentence for this word is, the toxic fumes imperiled the lives of the miners. So once again, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. The word we learned in the previous slide is obliterate. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is part of a garden where vegetables are grown. And in this picture, we can see a garden and a part of it is used to grow vegetables. So therefore, the word will be vegetable patch. And the sentence for vegetable patch is, my neighbor had this little vegetable patch in his backyard or garden. So now, before we go into the next one, do you guys remember the previous slide? The word we learned in the previous slide is imperil. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is flinch back in fear, starts with R. And in this picture, we can see someone that is flinching back in fear. So therefore, the word will be recoiled. And the sentence for recoiled is, he recoiled, pushing himself against the bed. So before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is vegetable patch. Let's go on to the next one. A fleshy, boneless piece of meat. And in this picture, we can see a fleshy, boneless piece of meat. And the word will be fillet. And the sentence for this word is, the fillet of monkfish with roasted cherry tomatoes is well worth trying. So once again, before we go into the next one, can you guys recall the previous slide? The word we learned in the previous slide is recoiled. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is question someone, typically a soldier or spy, about a completed mission or undertaking. And in this picture, we can see someone questioning. So therefore, the word will be debrief. And the sentence for this word is, spies and military personnel might expect their superiors to debrief them after a mission. So before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the word we learned in the previous slide is fillet. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is careful consideration of what will be necessary or may happen in the future. And in this picture, we can see someone looking forward as if they're looking into the future. So therefore, the word will be forethought. And the sentence for this word is, Dan had the forethought to pack in advance. So now, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. The word we learned in the previous slide is debrief. Move someone to a lower position or rank, usually as a punishment. Starts with D. In this picture, we can see an arrow that is pointing downwards as if someone or something have been moved to a lower position or rank. And therefore, the word will be demote. And the sentence for this word is, the head of our team was demoted yesterday. Now, let's go on to the next one. The next definition is assign an inferior rank or position. And in this picture, we can see someone that have their hands on their knees as if they're tired, and they also have an arrow pointing downwards, as if they have been assigned an inferior rank or position. And therefore, the word will be relegate. And the sentence for relegate is, my friend's favorite football team was relegated to Division 2. So before we go on to the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. So the word we learned in the previous slide is demote. Let's go on to the next one. Next one is remove someone from original social class, starts with D. In this picture, we can see someone that is standing out from the other people, as if they've been removed from the original social class. And therefore, the word will be D-class. And the sentence for this word is, regret has been expressed by some that the workers are becoming declassed. Before we go on to the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. So the word we learned in the previous slide is relegate. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is hanging ice formed by freezing of dripping water. Starts with I. In this picture, we can see a house that is hanging ice formed by the freezing of dripping water. And therefore, the word will be icicle. And the sentence for icicle is, due to extreme cold weather, icicles were formed outside my house. So once again, before we go on to the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. So the word we learned in the previous slide is D class. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is parasitic on plants or animals, starts with M. In this picture, we can see a parasitic insect that lives on plants or animals. And therefore, the word will be mite. And the sentence for mite is, mites can cause itchy skin and rashes in babies and children. So once again, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall this previous slide. And the previous slide is icicle. Let's go on to the next one. The next definition is dance music or spicy tomato sauce, starts with S. In this picture, we can see people dancing, which means that's obviously dance music, and we can also see a spicy tomato sauce. And therefore, the word will be salsa. And the sentence for salsa is, my friend opted for burger and chips with spicy tomato salsa sauce. So once again, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is mite. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is period from end to end, starts with S. In this picture, we can see an arrow with end to end, as if a period starting from one end and ending at the other end. And the word will be span. And the sentence for span is, her music interests span a wide variety of genres. So once again, before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is salsa. Let's go on to the next one. Rough or uneven starts with R. In this picture, we can see mountain faces, which are obviously rough and uneven, just like the ones we can see in the picture. And therefore, the word will be rugged. And the sentence is, the rest of the journey is rugged and mountainous. So let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is span. Let's go on to the next one. Land along a coast starts with C. In this picture, we can see a piece of land that is along the coast. And the word will be coastline. And the sentence for coastline is, the coastline is only 25 miles length. So before we go into the next one, let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is rugged. The next one is undesirable common occurrence, starts with R. In this picture, we can see an injection and obviously disease. And disease is obviously an undesirable common occurrence. And the word will be rife. The sentence for rife is, pandemics were rife during the 14th century. So let's try to recall the previous slide. And the previous slide is coastline. Now to learn more on 11 plus vocab, click the video on the right, and to learn the previous type, click the video on the left. So take your pick. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.